Hello, everyone.
Hey!
Ooh, loving this new background.
Well, he got camera shy already.
It's intense.
I am. It's a big start.
Yeah, we have to give you a grand opening. Hey, everybody. How's everyone doing on this lovely Friday afternoon?
Nice day here in New York again. How is it doing over there where you guys are? Where are you guys located?
I'm in Vancouver.
I'm in Ontario.
Oh, okay.
Okay. How's the weather over there?
22 degrees. It's beautiful. Oh, you don't even know what that means in America. I don't know. Really nice? I don't know what it is either in American degrees.
Nice. All right. So, today we have episode 47 now on our Behind the MasterMinds. And with us today we have the Bamboozle Brothers.
Hey!
So
by the way,
name.
yeah, I could tell right off the bat you guys look like brothers.
We are.
Yep.
Related.
As always, we're going to do the raffle segment of the show first before we introduce our guests today. We have a really awesome box game that we're giving away from Hunter Killer.
It's a big one.
Yeah, Death at the dive bar. And who's ready to investigate
Who's ready?
Murder mystery?
If you're ready, let's see an emoji. Any emoji. Last time it worked for Worshie, she got it right away. So I'm going to get my drumsticks. You get your emojis. Here we go. Who's the big winner? Who's the lucky winner? Death at the dive bar.
Ooh, Lorraine Hunt.
Lorraine Hunt. Congratulations. Lorraine Hunt the Killer.
Here's notes. Nice. All right. So let's get to know who our guests are.
Yeah, we have a long list of a long bio list here, but I'm going to separate it out. We're going to start with Jay. All right, Jay. So Jay contributes to the gaming world in so many ways. I mean, as a board game designer, there's Scooby-Doo, Escape from the Haunted Mansion, In the Hall of the Mountain King, Belfort, D&D, Rock, Paper, Wizard, and more. I mean, you can see behind him. Yeah,
that's the more.
He's doing some Vanna White, which looks amazing. He's also as a publisher of the Fail Faster Playtesting Journal and owner of Off the Pages Games with its first game, Mind Management. Yup, the psychic espionage game due out later this year. Ooh,
and the father of twin 4-year-olds.
And the father of twin. I didn't get there yet. Hold on, I'm almost there.
Yeah.
Also, as an instructor, he teaches game design for the Vancouver Film School and Langara College. As a content producer with his YouTube series, How to Start a Board Game Company, and also as a corporate event content provider, creating escape rooms for companies across the country. Let's head over to your twin brother, SEN-FOONG. All right, so we know SEN-FOONG was dropped off in a dank basement of the local university at the age of 6 by flustered parents, hoping that their precocious child could be kept entertained by the newfangled thing they heard about on the radio, Dungeons and Dragons. Little did they know what that kept them from pulling out their hair and putting their only son up for adoption would catapult Sen into the realms unknown. Sen is passionate about exploring his culture through games and figuring out how to make all things geeky even geekier by making them into games, obviously. Yeah. Coming off of successful campaigns for Mind Management and his first co-authored RPG, Jiangxi Blood in the Banquet Hall and Kingdom Rush Elemental Uprising, Sen is also the co-creator of the Coded Chronicles series from the Op, and Sen loves taking familiar stories and giving them a twist, allowing players to explore and experience the world through the eyes of their favorite characters.
Oh, wow.
I'll be right back. I need to go get something to drink now. No, I'm ready to go. Are you guys ready for your first question?
Sure. There's questions? Awesome.
Yes,
all right.
A lot of questions.
So our first question is, of course, going to be, how did the brothers meet? And can I make a guess? Was it like a D&D meetup or something? Like, how did this happen?
It was a house party.
Yeah.
You guys party?
Well, so you have
this is how we party. This is how we party. Errol, who you might know from other escape room things.
You heard of him.
Yeah, that dude. So we all live together. at one point.
Oh.
Yeah,
But prior to
in our university careers. But prior to us living together, Errol and I sing together in an a cappella group. And
so many surprises.
yeah,
A lot
I know,
of
right?
Easter eggs right now.
A lot of weird, lot of history here. But Errol said, "Oh, my friend is having a party." This was like the summer of second year university, where we had done so poorly in first year that we had to stay in the summer to do like catch up material, and we went over. It was actually, I think, so Jay lived with Steve Gordon in Edwards, which was at one of the campus residences, and then Jay moved out. And then Steve was friends with Errol, and I was friends with Errol. Therefore, I was friends with Steve, and therefore we got to meet Jay. That's how this all worked.
Wow.
And the first thing that happened when we got to Jay's house, which was on Sanders, where eventually I would live, my wife would live, Jay would live, but Errol did not live there. And
Bye-bye, Errol.
the first thing he said to me was, "Hey, do you want to see my Amiga?" And for those of you who don't know what an Amiga is an old computer. It's like Commodore 64.
Yeah.
Right after the Commodore 64 was the Amiga series, and Jay had an Amiga. And being a nerd like myself,
I could quickly identify, hey, here's a fellow
he's a
geek.
nerd.
Yeah, his radar.
He might appreciate, Into the Black. Which game was it? Not Alone in the Dark.
Yeah. Fade to Black. Fade to Black.
Fade to Black. That's what it is. Fade to Black. And we're like, yes, we would like to see your Amiga and all the point and click adventure games that are on it.
This sounds like a pickup line. Hey,
It's a pick up a nerd.
Like,
If you want to pick up a nerd,
That's how you do it.
my Amiga will work.
Well, that's some interesting facts right there. First of all, I'm just going to put it out there because I feel like the audience is also encouraging this. If there's some extra time, maybe we can pull in Errol and they'll do a duet live for us.
Is the voice still good?
How's the pipes? Like, are we
still good there?
Oh yeah, I sing all the time.
Nice.
all right? Well, we'll try to wrap this up quick and get them on the show with you guys. So we do have a question from K-Luck Fong wants to know, can you comment on why official errata needed to be issued for The Shining, Escape from the Overlook Hotel? There seem to be a lot of issues that hampers a funding.
Sure.
Yeah, I think there was. I don't want to point fingers or put blame. But I think there was a certain amount of rushed aspect to it, or things weren't checked 100%, and so things. There was just some errors that just happened to be in it, and part of it was that maybe we didn't think somebody would do a certain thing, and then somebody did, and people are doing a certain thing, and it makes you go down this path that we were like, oh shoot, that did not come up in our playtesting, and now it's coming up in real life. And that makes it feel like the game's broken because we didn't think that somebody would do that. But if you do it, it makes it feel like the game's broken. So there's an errata saying, hey, don't do this until Act 2, and then it won't be broken. That's the easy fix. And then future reprints will have it all fixed to make sure that it's cleaner.
Yeah, and I don't want to put the blame on COVID, but COVID also was partly a factor because we were doing that at the time of the.
It's hard to test escape room games virtually. Because we have
really
to do
hard.
it in Tabletop Simulator, and it's hard to manipulate physical puzzles, and whatnot. So.
And then the other thing is that you can't have the same people test it again because they know all the puzzles, so it's hard. Also, one major difference between Scooby-Doo and then The Shining, and then games that we're doing past that, was The Shining. We actually didn't have in the rules this section where that we do in Scooby-Doo. Like, if you are in the wrong room and you read a thing that's not linked to your room, don't read it.
There was a decision to take that room out, and that was unknown to us. So that was a catch-all that kind of helped catch like mistakes before you made them. But now that for various reasons that was taken out, and so now it's like, oh yeah, that was actually helping players know that they were in the looking up the right thing. Yeah, for those that don't even know what this is, you basically put your characters next to 3-digit codes in the game, whether in cards or on the map tiles, and it makes a 4-digit code. Then you grab the appropriate narrative guide for each character, Scooby or Shaggy or Wendy or Tony. What's the little boy's name? Danny. And you look up that 4-digit code, and then you verify you're in the right room, and then you read the thing. And so that column was taken out. So that was another thing.
So you can't even verify you're in the right room, which would actually have solved, I think, almost all the problems, because you'd say, oh, not in that room.
This is not for me.
So I can't read that thing.
Right.
Because you can create codes in various ways, and some people were, legitimately making mistakes in how they created the code, because we want it to be very much, this number, then these numbers after that. And normally what we'd do is we'd make it so that you could reverse some of the numbers and whatnot, but without that verification check of the room, you don't even know if you're reading something that is relevant to this puzzle right now. So that was the problem. And we didn't know that column was taken out of this.
But there is an errata, as mentioned. It's on BGG, so you can print that out before you play it and follow along, and it'll help guide you through to make sure that you don't fall into those errors.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's good to know.
A soprano escape room experience would be awesome. That would be
We're giving you ideas.
Yeah. Next client.
Taking me totally out of the order of why I'm asking my questions, but that's totally fine.
We'll try to cover what we need to.
Our second question is, do you guys always work together to design games, or do you have things that you work on separately as well?
Yeah, both. Yeah, I mean, the Coded Chronicles is Sen and I, that we do all the Coded Chronicles. There's 2 out now, and there's more coming that we can't announce, unfortunately, because they're all
When
IP
it's coming
based.
this summer, so we can tell you that much.
Soon, yeah.
Okay.
And it's exciting, and then for sure, most of these games is Sen and I made most of these games, and then we've each also made games either on our own or with other people as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. That's good to know. And
so when you come together to design something, what do each of you bring to the table? Like, are your design styles different? Like, is one more about the puzzles and the other is more about the narrative, or vice versa?
Yes, actually, that's kind of true.
Okay.
So Jay is much more about the puzzles. I'm more about the narrative. If you wanted to divide it that way, I like
we both
puzzles.
care about both things, yes.
Yeah.
But
and Jay likes that the puzzles fit into the narrative properly.
Yes.
So we both care about both of those things, but if it was, one or the other, Jay does more of the heavy lifting on the puzzle design, and I do more of the heavy lifting on the writing side. So that is true.
Right.
Although we both do both. So
for sure. And by the way, Jay, I was watching your YouTube series on how to start a board game company. I think you're up to episode 43 at this point. And the top
that many episodes.
I know.
A lot to do.
43. So I feel like they're really educational for game creators out there. Definitely go check them out. They're really great. They range from how you can start a company, creating a logo, contracts, the board game sizes. It's a great resource for anyone who wants to attempt to do, be a publisher themselves. Cool. It's definitely a lot of content to get into detail at this point. But the question we have for you is that, what is the story behind why you wanted to become your own publisher in the first place? And now that you've along the way, what are some pros and cons with this decision?
Sure. So I'll do this as quickly as possible, just so, because it's a bit of a long story, but I can make it quick. We were at Gen Con quite a few years ago, and Sen was looking at a comic book called Sixth Gun, and he said out loud, it's like, man, I wonder who you have to talk to make a board game based off of this. And some person turned around at the booth and he said, oh, that would be me. And we're like, oh, hey. And so we talked to this person.
Charlie Chu from Oni Press.
Yeah. And we chatted about him, and he set up a meeting with the creators of that comic book, and we met with the creators of that comic book to make him in. And short story for that game never ended up happening for other various reasons. But while we were in that meeting, I don't know if it was Brian or Cullen said, oh, you should talk to Matt. He's here at Gen Con too. And I'm like, Matt who? And he's like, Matt Kint. And I'm like, Matt Kint, he's one of my favorites. I literally have 2 pieces of his artwork hanging in my room right now from before this whole thing started. So I really love the guy. And I'm like, he's here? Cool. And so we set up a meeting at Gen Con, after the evening, and we played all night. We played board games all night with him. He had played our game, Acroteria, and loved it. And we had loved all his stuff. And I think just haphazardly, he just mentioned, man, it would be cool to have a board game based on mind management. Just like that, wouldn't that be cool? And Sen and I are immediately ears perk up. We're like, yes, hello, excuse me. Could we be those people to make that? He's like, you would? And we're like, yeah, that'd be great. And so literally it was just I don't even know if we physically shook hands or not, but it was just okay, let's do it. And we just started making a game. And that process took 2 years of us coming up with an idea, because it was very challenging to figure out the thematic experience of mind management. And so we failed many times, came up with totally different concepts and ideas, finally came up with a hidden movement, one versus many kind of game. And we made it, and he loved it, and everything was great. Play tested forever. Pitched it to publishers. Got signed by a publisher. We're sitting back waiting for that, big board game money to just come rolling in.
Nice.
And then unfortunately, we're still waiting for that.
We're still waiting.
And then unfortunately, that board game publisher went under after 6 months or so. So we're like, oh man. So we're back to the drawing board. So we had a meeting with Matt, Sen, and me. We're like, what do we do now? We got to pitch it again. We got to get it out there. Who's seen it before? And it was actually Matt Kint, the creator of the comic book Mind Management. If you're not familiar with that, it's based on a comic book. And he said, well, what if we just did it ourselves? Like, what if I do all the art and graphic design and you guys publish it? So we took it away and thought about it. And I'm in a part of my life right now where I've actually moved down to part-time at my previously full-time job. They allowed me to go down to part-time so I could focus on board game things 2 days a week, which is awesome. So I pitched it to Sen. I said, Sen, what if I was the publisher and started up a company, I guess, to do this? And Sen's got a full-time job on top of all the game stuff he does. He's like, yeah, that'd be totally fine. He's totally cool with that. So that's how we did it. So then I'm like, okay. And then it was all about like, well, if I'm going to be a publisher, am I just making one game, or am I going to make a go at this and try to be a publisher? And if I am, then what do I stand for? What is my company all about? And because the first game was based on Mind Management, a really good comic book, I thought, well, what if I did all my games were based off of creator-owned comic books? And I'm like, okay, that's what. So off the page is kind of like off the comic book page and onto the table kind of idea.
Ah, so how many times did you guys reenact that scenario at the future Gen Cons? Just standing there and SEN-FOONG saying, "Hey, I wonder who do I have to talk to get this?" And then all of a sudden,
it happens more than you'd think.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, that's where magic happens.
Just get on the microphone next time and scream it out loud. Who do I have to talk to?
Well, oddly enough, now people come talk to us, so it's pretty good.
Yay, that's where you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like when like you've mentioned some of the other products that we've made, like when a publisher says, "Hey, I have access to Marvel superheroes. Do you guys want to make a game?" It's like, yes.
Yeah.
Or do you want to work in
Chronicles.
Dungeons and Dragons? Or do you want to work? Yeah, Scooby-Doo was the big one. Both of us are huge Scooby-Doo fans, so it's like, do you want to, before they said Scooby and they didn't even get the do out, we're like shaking hands and signing our names on things. Yes, we will do that, 100%. But yeah, Scooby-Doo was an ask. It wasn't a request from us. It was them asking us to do it.
Okay, that was actually one of my other questions. But so I mean, for Jay, that second part of the question, pros and cons for being your own publisher.
The amount of time and the amount of organization you need and the amount of detail, it's a lot of foreplanning and forethought, and like you just have to really, you can't just be like, oh, I have a game, next month let's put it on Kickstarter. Like as soon as that was April of 2 years ago, April, so literally 2 years ago now, is when we had the meeting and said, okay, let's do it. We're going to make a company. I already said, okay, we're not going to launch until next March. That gives me 11 months to get everything ready and start the marketing. And I'm starting, even though Sen and I have a brand name in the board game world to some, so that there's a little bit of following maybe there. I don't know. I'm just saying we've at least made games.
Yeah,
we're not super brand new. Right. So there's that. But as a company, we're starting from scratch, from zero. Like we have 0 followers for that, and so I fortunately had done the Fail Faster journal the year before as a Kickstarter. So that's my first attempt, and that's what really gave me the confidence to do it, because I had done this and it was a nice, smaller, very niche, just to board game designers is what that was for. And it did very well. So I'm like, yeah. The pros are you control everything. The cons are you have to do everything.
Yeah. That's definitely, we've heard of that before.
Like, there's so much that you just don't, you think it's all fun, but there's like, okay, now, like last night I spent like 3 hours going through shipping spreadsheets and aligning and making sure all the names and everything's in the right columns for all the fulfillment companies and which ones are going to which fulfillment company, and just like, there's a lot of minutia type stuff you have to do that's not glamorous.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting because like a lot of people ask us about that board game money. Does it come rolling in? And the answer is like, not really, because we only get like a very small percentage, especially when there's a huge license like Dungeons and Dragons or Scooby-Doo attached to it. We're not getting like anywhere near 10%. We're getting like much lower than that. And so now you know why, because after we design the game, there is so much more work that needs to get done. And I think it's given us a respect for the partners that we do have, the publishing partners that we do have, and say, yeah, I'll gladly let you take 93% of the income to do all that work.
Yeah.
It is a ton of work. It's a lot of work. I mean,
finally
it does get easier somewhat, but
I finally agreed to it because it is a little bit of a passion project. Like, this is like an ultimate dream come true to be able to not only design a game set in this world of one of my favorite comic books of all time, but now to be able to publish it and have decisions about what it's going to look like and how it's going to come. And like, it's collaborating with Matt and having meetings with Matt Kint, and like we're ideating together. It's like a dream come true in that sense, and that part is amazing.
He's a New York Times bestselling author. It's Harvey Award-winning artist and illustrator and writer. So it's a pretty big deal for us to be working with him. I don't know if he feels the same way in reverse.
I feel like the collaborative work is what brings a project that right at the beginning is like nothing, but then when all the great minds come together, it becomes something.
The game right now is better than I could have ever imagined it just on my own. That's what collaboration does. People are added. It's additive. If people add things that you're like, that is awesome. This is even better than I thought it was. That's the benefit of collaborating. Yeah.
So what is the management game about? Like, is it a strategy game or?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
So have you ever played like Scotland Yard?
Or a long time ago.
So it's like that but better.
Yeah. Or Letters from Whitechapel or Fury of Dracula.
Okay, Letters of Whitechapel, yeah.
Yeah, so like one person plays the hidden character called, the Eraser Mind Management, whatever. Actually, it's several different people it could be. Yeah, the recruiter. And then everybody else around the table plays the team that is trying to track that person down. And it's really neat. And there's some really cool it is very puzzly, to be honest. And it feels like you actually have psychic powers when you're playing it, because you actually like listen to the other players and try to double think what they're thinking. Oh, they said they're going to go this way. Okay, I'm going to go that way, and then go back this way to trick them, right? So there's a lot to the game.
Strategy involved, yeah.
Yeah.
And the playtime is nice and short. It's like an hour-ish to play, as opposed to some of these other Letters from Whitechapel games are longer time investment. So that's
Fury of Dracula for sure is like a 2 to 3 hour game easily.
How about the instruction book? How many pages?
The instructions.
Oh, that's a problem.
It's still long. It's still long.
So that's the hour. The half an hour is the game, but the hour is going.
There's a reason why it's longer, because we made a training mission, and so the rule book incorporates the training mission and the regular rules.
And the training mission in and of itself is just a fun game. People are like, oh, that's just the training mission? I'd play that. Like, that's the game. I thought, no, there's more to it.
Yeah, the more to it's probably the coolest part of it. We made this system for the game called the Shift system, because we were designing this around the time when like Pandemic Legacy came out. So legacy games, which are like story unlocks and stuff like that. And we, we're listening to the feedback about it. People are like, yeah, it's awesome, but people didn't like destroying things and didn't like, ripping up cards and putting stickers on stuff. So we thought, why don't we make a game that does something like that, but then you can reset. And so the Shift system in this game kind of allows you to add different bits and pieces. Like you almost like do a bidding thing with them. Like I bet you I can do this with, 1 or 2 expansions. And so they're all little mini expansions. And the coolest thing for me anyways, is that each of those mini expansions comes with a comic that actually explains the mini expansion. So Matt drew like, I don't know what, 8 new comics. Like, look at that thing. This is like a testament to how much we love the comic book. It is.
It's like a collector's item. Like it's a game, but it's like a collector's item.
And that's the old version. That's the non-magnetic version.
I know. It's very old.
Wow. The new one has magnets.
It's way better. Yeah, this is a sample from a long time ago.
So just like
between the two of you, how many games have you published so far?
Oh,
between the two of us, 30.
Yeah.
I've got more because I work in RPGs as well, but
40 maybe? 30 to 40?
Yeah. Well, I think I have almost 40 by myself, so probably a bit more than that.
Your bookshelf look like that as well?
Yeah, it's just downstairs. I'm in my office, so my office is a huge mess. I teach sign language, so I have to have black behind my hands for my students to see.
Oh, you do magic tricks.
No, I don't do magic tricks. Jay does magic tricks, though.
Oh.
That's odd.
Not anymore.
Jay used to be a walk-around magician.
You might need an encore show.
talent
Just
show
strictly
from the
talent from the
Bamboozle
Bamboozle Brothers.
A bunch of weird dudes. That's what we were.
Okay, well, that's a lot of games, and we don't have time to cover everything today, so we're going to focus on just the two that we recently played, which is the Coda Chronicle series from the op games, Scooby-Doo, Escape from the Haunted Mansion, and The Shining, Escape from the Overlook Hotel. So, I mean, you kind of answered this before, but did they reach out to you guys with the idea, or you have to pitch it to them, both of the games?
They reached out to us and a bunch of other designers to pitch how would you do an escape room with an IP. That's the thing. And so when we thought about it, we thought, well, if you're playing an IP, you don't want to. It's like Scooby-Doo was the one they gave us as to start. Like, well, if you're playing with Scooby-Doo, like you're gonna want to be the characters. You're not gonna want to be like some. So how currently in the escape rooms you're not anybody. You're just like, I don't know, somebody, just the player, and you're interacting with the puzzles. So there's no. So how do we add? And so that was what we started down our brainstorming of, like, how do we make sure that the players are using the characters and the characters feel like they are those characters. And that's where we came up with this whole concept of. Kind of like a 1990s point-and-click adventure, like the old Zack McCracken's and all the
Monkey Island
type games, where you click a verb and then you click something on the screen, like eat this or push this. That's the idea, where each character has a verb, and then that verb can be attached to any of these things on the cards or on the maps, and then you look up to see what happens when you do it, and it's in their voice. And so that's what the feedback we got from so many people, that the Scooby-Doo one especially feels like you're watching an episode and participating in an episode of Scooby-Doo, which is fantastic.
Jinkies!
Yeah, exactly.
Guaranteed.
He had a lot of fun with the Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, I'm a huge Scooby-Doo fan as well.
Yeah, like, okay, are you going to do that for the entire game?
Probably. Yeah. I was going back and forth with Shaggy and Scooby by myself the whole time.
Nice.
And it's, speaking about the pitching, I actually saw one of your YouTube videos where you guys had a event that you were allowing designers who were able to like pitch to publishers.
Yeah.
How did that go? Like, are you going to do that every year? That's very exciting. Like,
we're working on it. We're doing one actually next month or the month after for a very specific publisher. We're running that event for them, just as the hosts. And we use technology very similar to StreamYard to do it. But yeah, it was called the Pitch Project, and we had 700 entries.
Wow.
750, yeah.
Yeah, so over 700 entries of games that we had to like run through and judge. And then the top 50 designs were presented by their designers, and they each had like 4 minutes to present.
Live
and
to 40 plus
over
publishers.
40 publishers.
Wow, it's like
So
Shark Tank.
it was really
like,
cool.
For like, I guess,
Kind of, yeah.
Kinda, yeah.
They didn't have tons of
Yeah.
time to. The publishers couldn't interact besides typing questions, and then us as hosts would be able to ask them, like, "Oh, we got a question. How does this work in this part of the game?" But on a total, they had only 5 minutes because we had to get through 50 in one sitting, which was a lot of time.
How long was the overall time? Was
5
it
hours?
Oh, 5 hours.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah,
Wow.
I saw that.
Yeah, it was a long time.
So then
It was good. It was a good time though. Yeah, feedback was really good.
Like, if they actually got picked, do they actually get a deal from the publisher?
They could, yeah.
We just gave them a platform. That's all we did. There's no other rules about what happens after that. So now the publishers saw these games. The publishers love that they were curated. They don't have to go through 750 sell sheets or videos to.
Yeah, we did that.
Here's the top 50, and they're like, "This is great." So they really like that aspect of it. And obviously the designers, some of them have never pitched before ever. And for sure, majority of them have never been able to pitch to companies like Hasbro and Spin Master and all these other game companies that maybe you can't pitch to and have access to pitch to unless you're a bigger name designer. So it's great.
Yeah, specifically like Hasbro and Spin Master. Unless you know somebody at that company, you're not usually going to get to pitch to them. So it was a big deal for lots of people.
I'm actually doing something similar, music related, called Live and Untapped, which is premiering next month.
Cool.
Which is about a bunch of different music artists, providing them a platform to showcase their original material.
Nice.
Yeah.
So,
That's great.
something similar.
But I really liked what you guys did in terms of this, because it really gave like opportunities that they would have never had if they.
There were a lot of people who so we had people call in from like India, Malaysia, all over the world, where normally they wouldn't ever have been able to get to America to pitch to those companies, because a lot of the pitching happens at big conventions in America and in Europe, but very rarely in Asia. And so that was like a wonderful thing for me to hear that people are getting.
Anonymity was important to us because we wanted to make sure that there was no selection bias. There was like, oh look, Matt Leacock has a game that he's pitching. I want to see the next Matt Leacock game, the designer of Pandemic, for those that I'm name dropping here. I want to see, like, there's none of that. So you couldn't put your name or your picture or anything. You couldn't identify yourself at all. It was just literally, here's the game. So it was literally the games that were being judged, and that's it. And that people loved that.
Yeah,
a blind audition.
yeah. And so people actually got signed from this, which is great. So there's a couple people, and still stuff that's in the works from that, where they're shipping off their prototypes to different publishers. They're making connections in the industry, and so that's really kind of what we're here for. We do a lot of this kind of stuff where I think Jay, I think you're sitting in on a Shark Tank soon, right?
San Diego Comic-Con.
And I'll be moderating some of those Comic-Con events. So it's stuff we like to do. We want to see the industry grow. And we've done our part, I think, to help it grow a little bit, and we'll keep on doing that.
I think right from the get-go, Sen and I have always been very transparent about how we do what we do. We want to share how the sausage gets made as much as possible, because the industry is so niche and small that it benefits everybody if there's more people in it. In this industry, it just benefits everybody. And so right at the beginning, we actually created a blog called BamboozleBrothers.com, and it's from the inspiration of publication. We blogged about how we got our games published and put it into a step format. And there's like 32 steps or something on how we got our games published, and people told us they followed those steps and also got published. So that's great. And then I'm doing the video series for how to start a company, and then we did the pitch part. So and Sen does Meeple Syrup, which is a weekly podcast where he talks to behind the scenes people of in the game industry, all over the place. You can pitch better than I can, but so we're always looking to keep raising the industry up and get more people in it.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's why we do this.
And then, so I mean, like, if people wanted to find out more about events that are coming up, where do they go? Like,
just follow either of us on Twitter or Facebook or something like that. Twitter's probably the easiest for those things, because that's where Facebook, has family stuff on it, but Twitter has the business end of things. So
okay, great.
We'll definitely put that on there in the post too, so they know what it is.
Yes.
And of course, for audience, you're lucky today because the Ops Games are generally offering a copy of Scooby-Doo and one copy of Shining. So we'll have 2 winners to announce on April 30th show. Please note this raffle is limited to North America winners only. If you'd like to win a copy of these games, you just have to type in. I'm gonna have you say the secret phrase.
You're gonna have to type this in, and you have to type it exactly the way that we're going to present it to you. So it's here's Johnny. There you go.
And that's that. He had his phone moment.
Type that in and then say it out loud in the comfort of your own home, just like that.
Yeah, and even if you have played our games before, it's a nice gift for friends and family. So definitely try to win it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we know that both of these are big brands in the TV movie world. Like, is it difficult to get the copyright? And how do you choose these 2 titles? Like, how did you choose Scooby-Doo?
We don't.
You don't get to choose.
No,
we beg and we get to. They ask us what we'd like to work on, and then they try to go after those, but we don't have any say.
No, but they do know the things that we're passionate about. So we're good friends with a lot of people in the industry. So we've worked with them for the past 2-3 years now, and so they know very well, what the next one, if we had our druthers, what it would be. And so we're hoping, because they keep on saying, hey, maybe.
Well, the one you were saying before about summer, could we get a theme, like a genre, or scary?
It's movie.
Movie. Okay.
I was gonna say it's based on an IP.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
So we know it's based on an IP and it's a movie. We narrowed it down.
Is that too much?
Nothing.
I know.
I feel like Scooby-Doo has
The stormtroopers are probably at my door.
Yeah. Oh, he says
a while for them to get.
Another hint.
No, it's not.
Sen is the Tom Holland of the Bamboozle Brothers.
Yeah.
I know. We're gonna talk to Sen later. Try to get him drunk with Think a Drink, and then.
No.
I feel like Scooby-Doo has definitely wanted to like make some sort of presence in like all these like gaming thing, and they've been using their IPs a lot like throughout like different games. Cause there's a escape room that has a Scooby-Doo official game. What was it? Escapology is the one that has that, and then they are making 4 games now too. So
because I think it has an escape room element to it. Like you're solving, and then there's always a twist at the end, and
Yeah, they just did a Betrayal House on the Hill Scooby-Doo edition. That was really cool. If you like Betrayal, it's a good game. My friends all worked on that.
Is that the 3D game?
Betrayal is like
You're thinking of the Simon game. Maybe there's also a Scooby-Doo Simon game.
Oh yeah, there is a Scooby-Doo one from Cool Mini or Not. That's different as well. That's more like comic book characters fighting each other.
And that has all the little minis for each of the characters.
And that has a bunch of different cartoons in it.
Nice. And also this question goes back to the designing an IP game. How is it different from designing a regular game? Are there any limitations on design elements, budgets that you guys have to follow?
Yeah, I mean, there is a budget for art, but
and even for components, like we have to. They gave us a specific list of things, and then sometimes we have to beg and borrow. What if we added this? Because we've never done this before. Can we do this? And then they might have to say, then we have to use one less of it. Like there is definitely a budget of components. That is when we did Scooby-Doo, there kind of wasn't. We just kind of designed it, and then here you go. And then they figured out everything, and I think everything's been based on that now. So going forward,
right,
in the same price point.
So like you already like you don't really have specs that you have to work with though in terms of like box size or anything like that, or that's already.
No, I mean you've seen there's 2 different box sizes. The first box is that way because it's supposed to represent a pizza box for Scooby and Shaggy eating pizza. Yeah. Whereas most of them I think will be more like the Shining box from now on.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless there's a need to have it in a bag or a chest, or I don't know, if we for some reason did Pirates of the Caribbean, maybe it would be a chest-shaped box. Who knows? I don't know, because that's not on our list. We don't
make those decisions. But as far as designing goes, there's definitely some added challenges of designing a game set in an IP world because we have to make the fans happy, and making it an escape room. We have to make, I guess, ourselves happy because Sen and I are the kind of escape room creators where we want to make sure there's a logical reason why this puzzle exists all of a sudden. And if you watch The Shining, there's nobody stopping to solve puzzles. Yeah. So we had to come up with a reason of why that really fit into the theme, and I'm really proud of how we did that in that game, and I think that works. And Scooby-Doo is pretty loose because we're not one specific episode we're beholden to. It's just a lot of tropes. I had to make sure there's a lot of the things you would assume to be in there is going to be in there. So that was easier in that sense. But I think of those constraints as makes us more creative because we have to really figure out ways to solve these. It's like us trying to solve a puzzle to create it.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a lot of like narrative with both of these 2 games. Like with the multiplayer, it's a lot of fun for each to take on a character and act out, the scenes. And then there's a lot of interactive components to which you can explore various rooms, discover new puzzle pieces to use and for the characters to use, and solving puzzles so you can move on to the next chapter. We know the ops also mentioned this to be similar to an escape room experience to be played on a tabletop. But when designing, what inspirations do you draw for these games?
Every single episode of Scooby-Doo ever. I have literally watched everything that is ever Scooby-Doo in existence. So I'm drawing from my vast knowledge of nerd stuff. Basically, is what I do. It's hard, right? Because we have to make sure that we're giving nods to the IP, but not so deep cut, not such a deep cut that the general population wouldn't understand why that's part of a puzzle.
Yeah.
Right. So we're never really using like trivia as puzzles, if you've ever noticed. Like we don't do that. That's not fair for people who haven't seen Scooby-Doo in a long time, but like Scooby-Doo or have never watched The Shining. Oh, that's another thing, Jay. That is a problem sometimes. Like we've had people who've never watched The Shining play The Shining game. Like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so we have to then go back and rewrite a little bit here and there.
Yeah. To explain who the heck Tony is. If you've never seen The Shining, you wouldn't understand who or what a Tony is. Yeah.
Yeah. I think,
Is that award
you
you
have
get
to
for
do
musicals?
research outside of the game, go online, figure out like why this character did what they did, or if it's like insider stuff that you would only know from watching the film. It kind of takes you out of the game.
Yeah, and the purpose of brand extension, really, from a standpoint of a person who has like an IP that they want to put into a game or anything, is to actually get people to go back to that thing and look at it again, right? Mm-hmm. But if you don't do a good enough job, and people go, "What is that? That sounds dumb. I'm not going to watch that." It's not good, right? So we have to be sure that we're paying homage to the IP without, wrecking it, really.
Right.
So I'm hearing like there's usually like an interesting story that you guys have while designing games, or like stuff that are coming from comments from your fans or feedbacks you're getting for like games that you guys have developed. Are there any that sucks out from your memory?
Like any
that
interesting feedback
about the escape rooms or about any game? Because about the escape room, the funniest story is just the map of the Overlook Hotel. I don't know if you are familiar or have ever paid attention to the history of The Shining as a movie and the conspiracy theories around The Shining, the movie. There was an actual documentary called Room 237 that is all about how there's conspiracy theories somehow and what it means, and it's super in depth. And then we were forced to make a map of the Overlook Hotel, which flies in the face of a lot of these conspiracy theories. And I'm curious to see what anybody of those conspiracy theory people would think about the map that we had to come up with, because there is no legitimate map of the Overlook Hotel in existence. So
it does not exist.
Wow.
So
you guys came up with that like just by watching the movie and then kind of
that's part of the conspiracy theory, is that it's impossible to make a map of it because it contradicts itself. And there's, for example, in the room where Jack Nicholson has an interview, and behind that there's a window that looks outside. But then you do go on a walk around his office and you realize his office is not on the outside wall, because we follow him out the door and around and he's like, oh, he's inside. That's just because they filmed. There's no meaning to it. It's just they didn't think anyone would ever pay that much attention to it, I guess. Right. But some people want to think that, no, Stanley Kubrick's so meticulous, he would have planned everything and this is on purpose.
Yeah. And the thing about that is we wanted to build that into the game, but we thought that's too big of that's too deep of a cut for a lot of people to get why that would be interesting. So you'd have like the one or two like conspiracy theory fans out there going, "Oh my God, that's so great that you did that," and then 98% of the world said, it would have, but all the other 98% of people would say, "I don't understand." Right?
Yeah, that's going to make it more confusing. Like, wait a second.
Right? Exactly. Right.
Yeah. But as far as another funny story, if you want to hear a real quick funny story, one time Sen and I had a game and it was about juggling. And Sen and I really like a game called Tishu, and it's a partner game and it's just cards, and it's a fantastic game. We play it all the time. And we wanted to make a partner game where you have a partner and you have to play cards. And ours was about juggling. You had to juggle and pass it to the opponents, and they had to juggle by playing cards. And the higher the number on your cards, we put a picture on it for no real reason, just why not? And the higher the number, the harder it was thing to juggle, but it didn't matter to the gameplay.
Swords
and chainsaws, and the top one was cats. Like you were juggling cats, which is hilarious. But it had nothing to do with gameplay. So I'm at a convention, I'm pitching this game to a publisher, and I tell him that it's a game with juggling, and the higher it goes, like you're juggling chainsaws and cats. And he's like, that sounds awesome, let's play it. And we started playing it, in less than a minute, he's like, I don't want this. I'm like, what? He's like, oh, I'm sorry. He goes, I don't mean to be rude or anything. Like, it's just, it might be a fine game, but when you said juggling chainsaws and cats, I thought it was going to be really goofy and funny. And this is obviously like more serious, like strategy game. That's not for me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Sen and I take that information back, and we're like, what do we do with this information? We could, ignore it and just keep pitching it and to other publishers. We could change it so that it's not as goofy, and like make it not cats and chainsaws so they don't get that impression. Or we could try to, how could we make our game be more goofy? Like what can we do in our game to align with that feeling? Because that does seem marketable, like Chainsaws and Cats. That sounds funny. How can we make that? This is years before Exploding Kittens, by the way. And so when we brainstormed about it, we're like, well, what can we do? It's a game about juggling. How can we be goofy? You can't ask people to juggle. That's ridiculous. People don't know how to juggle. We can't have that in a game. And I think it was actually Sen's as well. You could do something with dexterity, like you could do something that is skillful, like they have to balance certain things or something like that. And then we was like, oh, that's interesting. And as we started brainstorming that more and more, that other game went backwards, and we totally changed the game, and it became a game called Junk Art, where it's a game where you have cards and you play cards to other players, and they have to take certain shapes of blocks and stack them on top of each other, and each person's got their own tower. There's actually about 12 different ways you can play the game in the box, and you play with 3 of them every time you play. But the whole game turned into a dexterity game from a partner card game, and based on feedback from one publisher, we changed it entirely, which we didn't have to, but it just happened that we were excited about it, and that's.
I just realized, Jay, that was to R&R, and both of them love Tishu, so it's pretty funny that they never got to play that.
That is true.
Yeah. Errol likes Tishu also. He said,
"Oh yeah, well yeah, Errol plays with us when we have a chance. We used to actually play online a lot, but we haven't done that lately. Errol, we should play online sometime."
So, who are some of the game designers out there that inspired your creativity for your games? Like, do you have a few that are your favorites that you can share with the audience?
I mean, from a design perspective, I love Wolfgang Kramer games. Like, I've always loved his games. I like Phil Walker Harding from his versatility. He makes a lot of different types of games, so that's always exciting. And I look up to Matt Leacock because he's now a full-time game designer, and I'm like, and he's got quite a few now, like evergreen type games, and that's like aspirational to try to find a way to design that. That'd be wild.
Right.
Matt also, we broke his brain when we played a game. We played Mind Management, which we're talking about, and he actually gave us like the critical piece of feedback that allowed us to change it in a really good direction. Like, we broke his brain. He's like, this is too much. This is way too much to sit in front of a person. Like, oh yeah. Now what do we do?
First time play, you're right, it is too much. Our play testers had play it week after week after week, keep wanting more and more little bits, and so we keep adding them. But then we introduce a brand new person to it, they're like, whoa, too much. And that's where we came up with the shift system. Of like, start simple and then slowly add little pieces to your as you wish to add them.
And then Vlada Schwarzhill is awesome. He's just great. So he's the designer of a lot of the Czech Game Edition games, Space Alert, Codenames, that kind of stuff. He's wonderful. But then, honestly, my one of my favorite games to talk about in general is Jenga. So I love Jenga.
Well, I was going to say your Junk Art game has a little bit of a Jenga aspect to it, right?
It's in the same series, Dexterity, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see what we squeeze out of them. What can we squeeze out of them?
Okay, to wrap up with the interview, what are some of the new projects you guys are working on, either separately or together? Where can the audience find information about your future project releases? I know you said Twitter, but I wasn't sure if game releases are going to be on there as well.
Oh yeah,
we'll talk about them.
Okay.
I don't think it's announced that the other Kickstarter that's coming this summer. Are we allowed to announce that, or no? Has that been the other one, the Kickstarter?
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
But we have a game coming out that's going to be Kickstarted this summer. It's a cool game. I can't say more, I guess, but yeah.
Jay, I like how you asked Tom Holland and his quote. Like,
are we allowed to say something? I just couldn't remember if people know about it or not. I guess not. Yeah.
No. The people
that's
we
coming
know
out,
that
so
know
that's exciting.
about it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the overall thing to take away is just make sure you follow them on Twitter, because it sounds like they have something ready for the summer. They have a new Kickstarter project.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff coming on the summer, basically. That's what I got from that.
Yeah, so the Kickstarter coming shortly. The announcement for the next Coded Chronicles games will be in the summer. It's already available for distribution to buy, but for the public announcement, it'll be a little bit later.
And then Mind Management will be hitting retail this summer.
It's getting put on the boat right now.
Yeah, it's getting put on boats right now.
Wow.
That's awesome. And
any like store in particular, or like Amazon?
If anybody ordered it from Kickstarter, they'll get it, and then it'll be in distribution after that. So any store can get it.
Oh, nice.
And then what else do we have coming out? I think that might be it for us as a team.
For what you can say, yeah.
Well,
I
I'm thinking about individual stuff too.
There's individual stuff. Like I did In the Hall of the Mountain King, and then their Burn Island Games is kickstarting in a month. Fall of the Mountain King, which I didn't design, but I helped develop, and we're working on some stuff that ties into this a bit more. So that there is some stuff I did design for it. But.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's play Think a Drink, see what more we can get out of them after that.
Yeah, this is definitely the point where we could try to get them.
Right.
But
is it time?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to play our game with the Bamboozle Brothers, which is called
Think or Drink.
Think a Drink.
So these questions are going to be based on the two games that we recently played. Hopefully your memory is still working. Yeah.
What do you gentlemen have to drink in front of you?
I have a 12-year-old Scotch.
Ooh.
Diet Coke with or without rum?
Without rum. Okay, so I'm trying a different flavor from Sangaria, which is Chuhai, but it's lemon flavor. I had the grapefruit one the other day. Very good. Not too strong, but also not too sweet.
Yeah. What's Jay drinking?
Jay, you said you're drinking
Diet Coke with or without rum?
You don't know.
Yeah, that's
it's still my work day. It's still my work day here, so
right. That's up.
He's like, I still need to work after.
All right, so I'm gonna bring the timer in. You have 10 seconds from after we ask you the question to answer it. You can give separate answers if you don't agree on the answer. So if you each have your own individual,
you have a chance.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Okay, so Cece's gonna start it off with the first question.
All right. So, question number 1. Well, I don't know who did the artwork on these games, but hopefully you have a good memory on them. In the Shining game, in the gold room tile, how many chairs are at the bar?
what?
4.
I would probably say 4. I'll say 4 too. Yeah, 4.
4.
Sure?
Maybe 5. Is it 4?
Maybe 5. Maybe 6. I don't know.
I'll say 4.
Well, remember, you can give separate answers. Also, Errol can help you if he knows your game.
Are we competing against each other, or are we competing?
No. You're on the same team. Well,
okay.
You kind of are. Whoever gets it wrong has to drink. So
I'll say 5. I'll say 5 then.
I'll say 4. Can't remember.
If they added it together, they would have been right. But it's 9.
Wow.
You guys drink.
He's like, why would you have 9 chairs at the bar? That's a big bar.
Yeah, it's like added extra.
That's a big bar. I didn't know it was gonna be that specific. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, these are pretty tough.
So don't count on Errol. He has no idea. He can barely remember Sen and Jay's name.
Okay, sorry.
He's out.
Oh, Logan says this is his favorite.
Oh yeah, Logan said favorite game.
Logan's awesome. Hey Logan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hey Logan. All right, so let's get to our second question, which is in that final maze in The Shining, what letter is behind the bench tile?
Letters to choose.
E? Is it an E?
I said C.
You say C and you say E, you said?
Mm-hmm.
If the E was rotated,
No.
it's an M.
It's an M.
Oh,
you guys drink.
I mean, that doesn't change.
These are art questions. Like I don't remember. Well, I guess it is a puzzle question. Well, an M. I'm trying to remember why there was an M in there. Maze.
I don't know. This might go right back in the fridge. I don't think I need to open this.
Actually, yeah, they are pretty tough this time.
All right. Are you guys ready for the third?
Well, here's a narrative type of question.
Yeah,
there we go. Sam, this is you.
On one of the server order sticky notes, Mr. Jones in room 108 ordered a steak, potato, and a Merlot. What year was that Merlot?
Well, for crying out loud. 1908? No, it can't be that old. It's gotta be way. Oh, Sen's frozen, I think.
Oh no!
Oh, you have to answer for both of you, Jay.
1923 and 1964.
Are any of them right?
No.
You're closer with the second one.
Yeah. 1969.
1969. You got to drink twice.
Oh my god.
He's like, without sin,
without rum.
what am I gonna do?
He's gonna probably have to pop in again because
I'm waiting for him to jump back in.
Yeah.
But let's start with the next question.
Well, unless Arrow wants to come in to sing his part now.
Right.
Well, while we wait for
some intermission
Yeah.
performance. Errol?
Does Arrow want to come in and sing some songs for us?
Sing some songs.
So you guys didn't do the art. I had that question. Who was the artist?
For Shining and for Scooby-Doo, it was Rob Lundy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Was that something that's also like a paired assignment, or you guys found the artist?
This is a unique deal with us, is that because making an escape room, they didn't want to be the in-between person. They gave us money to go find an artist. Because
okay.
we have to, because they didn't want to be in between saying, that red is not good enough because that'll ruin this other puzzle. Can you make that red a different red? Like there would be too much back and forth between that, so they didn't want to be in between that. They said, give us a final product. And so that's it's unique.
Did they approve the first final product you gave to them, or did you have to go back and edit some of the artwork?
More because of the puzzles, not because of the artwork. So just through playtesting, we would playtest, they would take it, they would playtest, and then there'd be tweaks of like, okay, this is a bit too hard. How can we make this a bit more clear, or stuff like that? Yeah. One of the things we learned for sure in this is that whenever we design these escape room games, we make them way too hard always. Yeah. Even though to us, as we're making them, this is an easy puzzle. This is an easy puzzle, because we're doing them individually. One on its own, that's an easy puzzle. But you're given all these other cards and things. You don't necessarily know what thing belongs to what puzzle, so it makes it 10 times harder. So that's what was a big learning thing, was that we have to really segment which things belong to which puzzles, so that when that's necessary. Gotcha.
Looks like we have a theory from David Mice that Sen freezing is one way to get out of drinking.
My God.
You could be right, David. he left you stranded, Jay.
Okay, I'm ready now. I've got the cards now. Here we go.
He's like,
what do you got? What do you got for me?
What do you got for me? All right. Well, anyways, we're actually up to this.
We're up to
questions.
I'm gonna continue. You can keep those cards. We're going over to Scooby-Doo. Question number 4. What room or rooms had muddy footprints? Laundry.
Oh my God! You bet.
100% would know. It's laundry and master bedroom and the bathroom.
Nice.
All right, you got me on that one.
Yeah, and you messed up, so you have to drink twice.
So I'll drink twice.
You can drink a third time because, and it's a bit of a spoiler, but they're not footprints.
Oh, they're not even footprints. You have to drink again because these are not footprints.
I'm reading what you wrote.
Oh, well.
This always happens. I get tricked. Okay. Question number 5.
Okay. On one of the cards, you have 3 instruments from the music room. It's a triangle, a xylophone, and what's the third instrument?
There's 2 tables with instruments, so it could be. Would you say a
triangle, the xylophone.
Could be the tambourine. I can't remember. I'm gonna say tambourine.
Tambourine!
Yay! All right.
You definitely know the Scooby game better. That's for sure.
Yep. All right. So we have a bonus question for you, and let me bring this back. Our bonus question for you is the brown colored cookie in the kitchen tray. What flavor is it?
Oh, brown. Huh. Chocolate and strawberry?
So I would say chocolate as well because it's brown, but it's actually coconut.
Oh, that's not the one. Yeah.
We'll drink together.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Nice.
That's a tricky one because that's not the answer to the puzzle.
No.
But that's why it's tricky.
Yes.
We're getting bonus questions for you, Jay. They like to see you drink. We're getting questions from the audience. So Logan wants to know, what's the theme of the next installment, and why is it Gravity Falls?
Oh, he's like putting on a spot, but he's like, I don't know.
I think he's gonna freeze soon, and
and then we're not gonna have a show.
Oh no, we lost him.
No.
Nice try, Logan.
We already tried everything.
Yeah.
Apparently,
it's like we got.
Yeah.
There's a whole marketing plan. There's a marketing plan, right? We can't. Yeah. It's not because they don't want to. It's just they want to release it properly and not,
That's for sure.
You just have
you have to build up that
yeah.
anticipation.
Yeah.
But you just have to wait.
Well, our audience doesn't have to wait. They can type in the raffle secret phrase now, and all you need to write is here's Johnny.
Oh my god. To enter for the game giveaway, we're going to choose 2 winners on our episode 49.
Oh my god.
Yeah. A
49.
copy on the Scooby-Doo and 1 copy in the Shining game. And remember to watch the post-edited version of this video to look for the secret embedded letters and numbers. Collect all 30 from episode 30 to 49 to form a phrase that you'll need to send to us for an answer in order to be entered in the raffle drawing for the big prize from Epic Escape Games, the 3-in-1.
3
with
games
real key locks and everything else. But for more information on that, you can check out our unboxing video on our YouTube.
Yeah.
And next week, we're going to switch up the gears with our usual puzzle games to jigsaw puzzles.
Yeah.
This
so
jigsaw
excited.
puzzle creator is actually the artist behind the Blueprint Gaming Concepts game, Crimes and History, H.H. Holmes, and Murder Castle. They were on our episode 34 if you want to check out their game. We'll be showing you a process how a jigsaw puzzle is created from start to finish.
Mm-hmm.
So remember to mark your calendars and tune in next week, Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Right.
And remember to give us a like and subscribe on our YouTube channel if you haven't yet. And thank you guys and have a great weekend.
Also, just FYI, the person that's on our next episode is Card and Illustration.
Yes.
Thank you, Jay, and thank you, Sen, out there, for joining us, and so we can learn more about Bamboozle Brothers and the great games that you guys are working on. Thank you to the audience. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Here.
Good luck. Yeah, invasion. Yeah. Oh. Let's go. Locked in, 60 minutes to escape. Think before you move, there's no room for mistakes. You got what it takes.